What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special Christmas edition of Bourbon and Bass. I hope everybody is having a fantastic Christmas and a great holiday. And I've got a good one for you today for Bourbon and Bass. We're going to talk about one of my favorite bourbons, which has almost become a unicorn. It's so incredibly hard to get. And there's a reason why it's so good, and I'm going to explain that to you. And then we're also going to talk Squarebilln, because right now is the time of the year where you need to be stocked up on these things, because now's the time of the year where those things catch absolute giants now through the spring. So let's get on to the bourbon, guys. If you're a bourbon fan at all, everybody is familiar with that guy right there. That would be Blanton's. A lot of people ask, why is it so good? Why is it so hard to find? And I'm going to kind of give you some history behind Blanton's of why it's so good. First off, you're going to see it right there on the label, and it says this is the original single barrel. And that is 100% fact. In 1983, Blanton's, this is Buffalo Trace Distillery, and you guys know I love Buffalo Trace Distillery, and there's a reason why they're so good. Blanton's in 1983 came out with single barrel. What single barrel is, now to kind of go back and give you some history on bourbon a little bit, almost all bourbons, especially then, and still really now, almost all bourbons is a blend between, they'll have, they have a warehouse full of bourbons aging in barrels, and they'll take different barrels and they'll start mixing them together to kind of get that acquired, that kind of, to achieve the taste that they're looking for. And almost all bourbons are made like that. Now, single barrel is not only rare, but it's very hard to do. And it's really, when you see a really good single barrel come out, this is really a signature behind the master distiller who's making that. That means that bourbon is aged in one single barrel, and only a master distiller can tell when that bourbon is aged correctly in order to, they actually hand pour these barrels, not by machines. They just kind of fluff it up by saying that. So Blanton's is the best. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people that can argue that. But in my opinion, it is so smooth. It is so well balanced. There's not just overwhelming flavors of a caramel or oak or something like that. Something that will overpower it. So I mean, the way to drink Blanton's is neat. That way you really get the full concept of just how smooth this single barrel is. Now, little history on single barrel, guys. Okay? Well, history, little known fact, there is no definition for single barrel. So take that as you will. Just about everybody now makes a single barrel. There is nothing that says it has to be in a single barrel for you to call it a single barrel. And I know for a fact there are bourbons and whiskeys out there that call themselves single barrel, and they're really not. That's really just a marketing concept. So keep that in mind, but I can promise you, Blanton's is one of those, and they have found the magical mix. I mean, it's aged in their famous warehouse H. It is a solid metal building, which during the summertime it really increases the heat. And the way bourbon ages, heat makes a big difference. Heat and cold, it changes the way that bourbon ages. And that warehouse is very, very unique, and that's why you almost only get that taste that you get out of Blanton's in that bottle and nowhere else. Be careful of single barrels out there, guys. You just kind of have to trust it's an actual single barrel, but bourbon's one of those. And the way bourbon ages, guys, it's that master distiller picks it. I mean, almost daily it is monitored throughout years, and that only a master distiller can tell when that bourbon reaches its peak aging process. In other words, like a fruit, when it gets completely ripe, only they can determine that, and it's a very hard process, and you have to be very knowledgeable and very good to come out with that right there. But it's extremely hard to find, guys. Buffalo Trace only gives one barrel per customer, which is retailer, restaurant, per allotment. So one barrel is like 24 cases or 6 to us. So you get like 138 bottles. So that's why it's so hard to find. Each individual retailer only gets one barrel. So 136 bottles, that doesn't go a long way. And guys, retail is 50 to 60 bucks. I mean, that's what I love about Buffalo Trace, is all of their extremely, extremely good bourbons. Retail is very affordable. And that just shows you it's the processes that they do. They want to make sure they're not one of those companies that's going to scalp. And guys, if you see this online and in stores for $200 or $300 or $400, don't buy it, guys. Because if Buffalo Trace Distillery found out that they were doing that, they would shut them down, or they would stop their allotments, because there is MAP pricing to this stuff, and there's a lot of people out there that like to take advantage of people trying to scalp good whiskeys or good bourbons like this. Just wait until you run into one, and oh my gosh, it's absolutely worth it. So that's a little history behind Blanton's, which is absolutely one of my favorites, and it's become almost a unicorn, especially here in the South, because it's gotten so popular. Blanton's, incredible. If you ever see that on the shelf, absolutely grab it, because I can promise you, you will not be disappointed in this Blanton's right here. You got to drink it neat. Okay, guys, enough for the bourbon. As much as I hate to move on, we're going to move on right now. And this is the time of the year where squarebilling is going to play a major factor, not just in tournaments, but just the size of the fish. Man, I have caught some absolute giant fish on squarebills year round, but especially from now all the way through the springtime. The squarebill may be one of the most effective reaction bites, if it's fished correctly, out there, other than like a jerkbait or something. But especially when those fish are shallow, it is really hard for even a big fish to resist a squarebill. So a few key things you need to remember about a squarebill. Of course, a squarebill is exactly what it's called. It has an actual square bill. And there's several different sizes. You know, you can go, this right here is like this one right here is a Spro this is a Spro Fat John 60 right here. It's a little bit bigger than your normal size square bill, your 50 size, which I'm going to show you. And it's got flat sides on it, a square bill, incredible, one of my favorite ones. And then kind of in the same line, this right here is the Fat Papa 60. It's a little more slender, it's rounded, it doesn't have that square shape like the Fat John, and both of them play key parts. You'll notice actually the flat bills, the flat side, it gives that bait a little bit more action. They typically won't dive quite as deep as your regular rounded ones. They're a little smaller in profile, like that Fat Papa right there, rather than that flat-sided. I like the bigger ones. I just feel like a lot of times they'll get bigger bites, just depending on what you're doing. And then you go down to like the Little John 50, which you guys seen me this year catch some really big fish on it right there. It's a little bit smaller in size. The bill on it's a little bit smaller as well, but extremely, extremely effective. And make sure you use some Delta Craws, some reds, and some chartreuses like this chartreuse nasty right here. Those two colors right there are just so darn effective. And so, where do you throw them at? Anywhere there's hard cover, rock especially, rock points, gravel points, laydowns especially, guys. And I'm gonna tell you the key to this bait, if you're not running this bait into something, you're simply not gonna get bit. Very, very rarely are you ever just reeling it without hitting bottom, without deflecting off a rock or a piece of wood and get a bite. Very rarely. I will actually try to run this thing in the wood as hard as I possibly can. Just the harder I can get it to react and reflect off of that cover, the more chances are you're going to get bit. And gosh, you can catch some absolute big ones. Even in the fall, starting in the fall all the way around. Lake Chickamauga, I caught one that was almost like a 714, day 2 of that Elite Series tournament. Actually on that Little John 50 right there. It was actually Pigpen was the color, not this one, right? Not the Shad Nasty, but gosh, it'll catch some absolute giants. And I actually ran that thing into a laydown, had a single laydown, and I reeled that thing down as hard as I could and deflected off of it and caught that giant fish. This is the time of the year. You better have a box full of them. Guys, the new Spro boxes too are legit. These things are completely watertight. The baits don't move in them. And you can see right here, this particular one is all the 60 sizes. So my Fat John 60s, the Fat Papa 60s, and I also have a box full of the 50s as well and on up. So now's the time of the year, guys. You need to make sure your square bills are stocked up. And between the Little John 50, the Fat John 60, and the Fat Papa 60, those are the 3 right there you need to make sure that you have all available from Spro, Tackle Warehouse, wherever you buy your stuff. Because these things will absolutely catch big fish, and you won't be disappointed again. So let me show you my setup real quick. I have two different crankbait setups, or Squarebill setups, I should say, right here. You know, one would be for the bigger size. You know, that right there is a Fat John 60 right there, and the chartreuse with the black back. Guys, one of my favorite crankbait rods on the market right there. Mojo Bass, guys. These things are $120 to $130 retail. They're very affordable, but guys, they're extremely well balanced, lightweight, and might be one of the best rods on the market for the money. I can promise you that. But this right here is a 7-foot 1-inch medium power, but a fast tip. The tip gives me a lot of accuracy, long cast, and it allows me to really get a good hook in that fish. And that medium backbone that this Mojo Bass has rarely gives me a problem with hookup ratio. So that, you know, I'll throw this bigger one typically on 15, sometimes 12, but typically on the bigger bait like this, I'll go up a little bit in size. It's a little more weight. I really like to run this big sucker into things too to really get that reaction bite. So that right there, that Mojo Bass, really good for the money. Now for like the 50 size, I'll go down to a 7-foot because a lot of times I'm really trying to get this into tight spots. That's that little John 50 right there. And I love to throw that thing, and you guys know Legend Extreme by St Croix Rods. This is a 7-foot medium power as well with a fast tip. Again, really good tip, extremely sensitive. Guys, sensitivity is absolute key when you're on a Squarebill, because a lot of times this time of the year, it's really hard to feel the bite. You just think you're kind of hung up on a limb, and all of a sudden it gets heavy on you. The increased sensitivity from this Legend Extreme by St Croix Rods right here is absolutely the ticket. And I will throw this little Squarebill, depending on water clarity, 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon. Typically 12, sometimes I'll go to 10 if I'm really needing to make a really long cast or I'm in extremely clear water. Just watch your line a lot, feel it a lot, make sure it's not getting frayed up. But that 12 pound Seaguar in Vezex is extremely strong, and this stuff will hold up and is a lot stronger than you think it is. Then, and again, as you guys probably know, line size determines your depth. If you're throwing 15 pound fluorocarbon, you're not reaching the bottom, go down to 12, go down to 10 to get the desired depth that you want in order for this bait to be really effective. But guys, this thing's Squarebill will catch absolute giants. I mean, big ones. Make sure you have a box full of these, especially the chartreuses, your reds, your Delta crawls and stuff like that. So again, you know, I like a medium backbone with a fast tip. You know, I can cast that thing a mile. I can be extremely accurate with it. And especially, you know, between the Mojo Bass and the Legend Extreme, it's just, they're like dreams in your hand. You got to feel it to really understand what I'm talking about. But guys, Little John 50s, Fat Johns 60s, Fat Papa 60s. Guys, make sure y'all have some of those, especially now through the springtime. I can promise you, you're going to catch more fish like that. Guys, thank y'all for watching. If you have any questions about Blanton's, any of them, E.H. Taylor, anything you see behind me, guys, shoot me a question. If you have any questions about Squarebills or the setup or which ones to get, again, guys, these Spro boxes, these new ones, are incredible. They're completely watertight. It holds everything. You don't open the box after a long run and the baits are in different compartments. These things are awesome. All of them you can get through your favorite tackle retailer. And I know you guys have probably seen my new flipping kit that came out, or Missile Baits' new flipping kit by Derek Cudnell right here, guys. You can only get these at missilebaits.com. It's got all of my favorite stuff in it, from D-bombs to crawl fathers to the Gamakatsu hooks that I use, to the weights, to pegs, to everything that I use in a flipping kit, all in one stop right here. They don't just have these, guys. They have pond fishing kits by John Cruz. They have power drop shotting kits from Ed Lochran, tidal water fisheries by Brian Schmidt. Ish Monroe has his punching kit, guys, and it's everything you need right here in one stop, and also makes fantastic gifts. But guys, thank y'all for watching Bourbon and Bass. I look forward to the 2021 season with even getting more creative and more in-depth with everything that you're seeing here, including some awesome bourbons coming down the road. Blanton's, if you see it, you better grab it. And by the way, I accept deliveries for Christmas presents, so if you ever see one of these, even if you don't drink bourbon, reach out to me. I'll buy it from you. Ship it to me. Merry Christmas to you guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic holiday, and we will see you soon. Later, guys.